So is the GOP really guilty, or are Democrats playing politics? Deneen Borelli is a Fox News contributor. Chuck Rocha is the president of Solidarity Strategies and a fellow at the Center for National Policy. Welcome both. Deneen, let me start with you.
Yes.
I mean, this is her quote. She says, quote, that the GOP is systematically and deliberately trying to stop millions from voting. You think that's true?
Listen, Governor Christie and any American who is seeing through this nonsense from Hillary Clinton should also be outraged, Eric. Listen, she's playing the race card because she is very desperate. And let's look at the question of why she's doing so. Hillary Clinton's scandals are really harming her in the polls, and they're not going to go away anytime soon. The emails, Benghazi, the Clinton Foundation, she doesn't want to talk about these issues. So what does she do? She changes a channel, flips the script, and plays the race card. That is what she's doing because she is extremely desperate.
Chuck, is this the race card?
Well, we heard Chris Christie talk about fraud, and I think fraud is the big thing here, is that it don't exist. In my state of Texas, over the last 10 years, we've only had 31 people file a complaint with the Attorney General. Over that same time period, 36 people claim that they've seen Bigfoot. In Texas, more people have seen Bigfoot than created voter fraud. This is all made up, so make sure that people don't vote. There's people who have lived and died in our armies to make sure we had the right to vote. We should expand it to as many people as we can.
What? Go ahead, Deneen.
This is to uphold the integrity of our voting system, Eric. And listen, 51% of Black Americans support voter ID. 70% of Americans support voter ID. This is nothing but rhetoric and nonsense from Hillary Clinton because she's desperate. She announced her campaign, what, 8 months ago? We still don't know, and I'm being facetious. We still don't know what she's going to run on. So now she's going to run on the race card. That's what she's doing.
Well, you know, Chuck, you mentioned voter fraud. I mean, I've done a lot of stories on that. Are you talking about buying and selling votes? We've had that. Vodka for votes in Arkansas, we've had that. Faking absentee ballots, we've had that. Stuffing the ballot box, we've had that too. Let me read you a quote from the Supreme Court ruling on this. It started all this, the Shelby County ruling. They said, this is the Supreme Court. African-American turnout has come to exceed white voter turnout in 5 of the 6 states originally covered, with the gap in the 6th state of less than 0.5%. Our nation has changed. Minority candidates hold office at unprecedented levels. The tests and devices that block ballot access have been forbidden nationwide for over 40 years. And they go on to point out that Georgia and Mississippi in 2004 had more registered African Americans than whites. I mean, Chuck, do you honestly believe that Jim Crow is alive and well still in this country right now?
Well, I know if you don't have a driver's license, you got to go buy an ID from the government. I also know in my home state of Texas, if you're a college student and you want to go vote with your college ID, you can't vote with that. But if you take your concealed handgun license, you can vote with that. My great-grandmama, we called her Big Mama. The way the rule stands right now, we took Big Mama's license away from her because she couldn't drive no more. She would literally not be eligible to vote in Texas right now unless we got somebody to drive her down to some bureaucratic thing to get some kind of ID so she could vote, even though she's voted for the last 50 years.
All right, Deneen, what about that?
Eric, there are some states that offer free ID to citizens. And again, Black voter turnout in 2012, 66% turned out more than white voters at, I believe it was 64%, excuse me. So clearly, the Black voters are turning out in record numbers. Hillary Clinton is desperate. She's going to play the race card because she does not want to talk about what's really in the headlines, which are the issues that I mentioned earlier and the controversy that are surrounding her.
Well, you know, you talk about you want everyone to vote, possibly. This is what
Sure.
this is what this country is based on, Chuck. I mean, I think of the case of Vivian Applewhite. She's 93 years old. Back in 2012, she was the lead plaintiff in the ACLU and NAACP voting ID lawsuit in Pennsylvania. She said in 2012 that she was being denied the right to vote because she couldn't, like Big Mama, she couldn't get an ID. Well, a few weeks after that, she goes in and gets her ID. So, you know, Chuck, finally, critics would say there are ways for people to get IDs if they just follow the system. What would you say to that?
If you make it free and fair for everybody across all race lines, and you make it equal to everyone to be able to have accessibility to that free ID, you're never going to see me push back. I want elections to be open. I want them to be fair. I want as many people voting as they can because that's our right as citizens. We just can't burden one class over another.
It's important for us to uphold the integrity of our voting system, and Americans do have access to these IDs, the IDs that we use on a daily basis, from transportation to entering government buildings. I mean, the access is there. So for Hillary to do this, I think is a very wrong and boneheaded thing for her to do.
All right, Deneen and Chuck, this issue, it was a big one back in 2008, and now it looks like it's back, and we'll stay with us. We thank you so much
Eric.
for joining us.